Okay, we're officially live.
Your surroundings.
Starbound 35.
We're live.
I believe so.
All right.
Oh, there. Okay, I think the focus fixed itself on.
Right back. You know, technically, if we counted this as only podcast, you might actually have more time doing your only podcast than me because I check the sound every time.
Do you want me to go check the sound this time?
No, I still want to do it. I just thought that was a cool stat to bring up.
You're right. Like I'm starting to get more reps in for my Kevin Only podcast.
Yeah, you put the time in.
Hey everybody. Quick catch up. It's been a week since the last Starbound. I think. And a number of things have probably happened. Now we're past mid-May, which feels kind of crazy. Where'd all the time go? It's starting to fly. If you know that song. Can't remember what it's called. What song is that? Where'd all the time go?
That
It's
don't sound
starting to
delicioso.
fly. What?
That don't sound delicioso.
Oh, good.
All right, let's get started, man. I got some controversial topics.
Whoa, take it easy, bro. You're blowing up the microphone.
My bad.
People are listening. They got headphones in. You're just
I figured they want the energy. You know what I mean? Like, let's go. You know what I mean? I'm ready to get blasting.
Are
on
we
it,
symmetrical?
Symmetrical?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I think
There we
we
go.
do. We look actually weirdly symmetrical.
Like we're in a Wes Anderson film.
Exactly.
Maybe,
Hello,
yeah.
I
If we
have
had,
very
symmetrical
funny, witty humor. That's how the walking bees go
That's what they
sometimes.
mean.
They're like perfectly angular, bro. Damn, that had a lot of torque.
So you already have some opinions that you want to start with?
I feel like we're too PC.
I don't
and
know
I have
what
a
we're-
controversial topic to start.
Why do I
off
feel
with.
like I'm so much lower? I feel like I'm lower on the couch than I usually am for some reason.
I don't disagree with you. I also feel lower. Aren't we usually? I mean, it depends.
Yeah, no, it's
'cause sometimes we
it's like
sit
the
up.
couch is definitely not shorter than it was last week.
Yeah. Well, no. It could be that every time we sit on it, the springs that keep it up get lower and lower. So every passing week, we are actually just sinking into the ground.
Let us know if you've noticed a decline or a recline in our position.
Was this amount of space from us on the top? Was that always like that,
or that
was
was
it?
always like that because you can see the painting, right? But I do feel like
But were we under the painting?
the camera might be in a slightly different place than it was last week. I think that might be what it is.
It does feel further back, maybe.
But I kind of like it. It's kind of vibey.
I like this more. I feel
But
like it's more balanced.
But it might be better if we sit up.
Yeah, everything is better when you sit up.
I need
I'm
to-
lazy, so
I need
I'm
to fix my posture anyway.
I'm a chill back.
Whatever be fixed. I don't know.
Anyway, I do have a controversial topic to start off with.
Let's hear it.
We don't have to start off controversial though, because this is gonna be heated. TMZ might come for us.
All right, yeah. Let's just wait so that
Let's let the fans kind of they'll have their fun at the back end of the episode.
I was gonna say, what is the things that have happened? What has happened over the last week? Last time we talked about writing and the Godfather and
a little bit of
and the
Batman.
Dark Knight. And
I go into even more Batman, bro. 'Cause
Well,
I've been studying.
you've been studying Begins.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about?
I'll talk about it a little bit. Excuse me.
And I watched The Godfather Part 2, so we get. It's like a sequel episode, kind of but you're going backwards. You're going from the Dark Knight to Batman.
Yeah, we're
Begins.
doing a reverse. We're doing a pre. it's
But
not a prequel.
I'm going forwards. I'm going from The Godfather to The Godfather Part 2.
We're basically like a Chris Nolan movie where the timeline is all kinds of messed up.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going backwards in time. He's going forward in time.
For the next episode, am I going to watch The Godfather Part 3 and you're going to watch The Dark Knight Rises?
Yeah, I'll meet around the middle. I actually did yesterday. I did want to watch Dark Knight Rises, and I was like,
I might
let
watch,
me finish Begins.
I might watch The Godfather Part 3. I've heard it's not as good as the first two.
A lot of people trash on it.
Well, I was reading the reviews though, and a lot of people were saying that it is very good. It's just
Comparatively.
not as good as the first two, which are considered some of the best movies ever. So it's
yeah, what are you gonna do?
so I might watch it anyway. I mean, Al Pacino's in it. The thing is that this one guy. Oh my gosh, what's his name? The guy who plays the Irish dude.
Robert De Niro?
Duvall. Yeah,
Oh,
Robert Duvall.
Robert Duvall. Oh,
Yeah, he plays this I think he plays this guy named Tom or something like that.
Mhm.
And he's the sort of right hand. Well, you're supposed to be talking about Batman. I'll get into it, but
Yeah, but just give me a little bit about this third one. You know what I mean?
oh well, apparently that guy's not in the third one for some reason.
And people are pissy about it.
Well, I would be too, because he's so good in the first two movies, and like I don't know why he wouldn't be in the third one.
Yeah, I was gonna say that Dark Knight Rises suffers a very similar experience from Godfather Part 3, because a lot of people kind of rag on the third one as like, oh, it's not the Dark Knight or yada yada da. But Dark Knight Rises actually is a fantastic movie. It's just not as good as the other two that came before it.
Well, I would say there's a slight difference in perception, because I feel like Bane is like so famous, like Tom Hardy's performance as Bane, that like people joke about it, but people still love it, right?
Yeah.
I would actually argue that Batman Begins gets the least attention.
I feel like it gets the least attention, but it doesn't get as much. Like some people critically judge Rises as like, these are mistakes, this is bad, this is not as good.
I understand.
Where Begins, I think everyone has a mutual respect for Begins, but no one talks about Batman.
That's so
Begins.
true, and I don't know why. Like Dark Knight is the only one that really gets talked about. But I mean, I do remember when I watched Rises, and I do like Rises a lot. I mean, Bane's really fun to watch. Yeah. But I do remember seeing Batman in the outdoor scene where he like fights at like that big like sort of government looking building. And I'm like, what the fuck is Batman doing?
In Rises?
Yeah. He's like fighting on these like steps of this like government.
Oh, you mean like in the third act?
Yeah. And I was like, this feels so weird to see Batman like in the daylight.
And I used to like kind of rag on that, but when you think about the purpose of all three of the movies, because I've seen people analyze it.
I'm not upset about it. I just thought it was like a weird thing to see.
It is weird. And I think it might be intentionally weird, because now tying it to Batman Begins, I've been studying it, and the whole point is that Batman becomes this shadow. It's like this darkness of Gotham, and a lot of people say Batman Begins has the worst fight scenes out of the three. I think on a technical level that might be true, but they also just use the fight scenes differently in Batman Begins, where he's supposed to be kind of like the shadow. You don't really see Batman do anything, but he's like knocking people out. He's like a more mystical element in Batman Begins.
Also, I don't need, like, I know it sounds kind of weird to say, but I really don't need Batman movies to have incredible Batman fighting scenes as far as punching goes. Because like one of my favorite parts about Batman is when he like, picks people up off of the ground and then like holds them above the balcony. Is like, where do the other drugs go? And shit like that. And then he like threatens to drop them and then all that stuff. Like that is a form of like action. And also the chase scenes. Like a lot of Batman movies.
I think Batman's better at chase scenes than he is at actual.
Especially in the Nolan movies with like the Tumblr and all that stuff.
Oh my God. Yeah. I just broke down the Tumblr scene yesterday. And some parts of it, now that I've actually broken it down, are somewhat flawed. But then other parts of it are just like, oh my God, it's like genius, bro.
They actually like filmed this like huge tank, just like drive. Did they film in Chicago, I think?
I'm not sure where they shot the first one. I know they shot the second one in Chicago and the third one. But the first one, I'm not entirely sure if that was.
I feel like it does look kind of different from what I remember. But I can't. But I haven't seen Begins.
Definitely different.
Wait, did I watch Begins with you not that long? No, I don't think I did.
We did watch Begins together like months ago, but not recently.
But it's been a minute now.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
I feel like I also didn't see all of it. I feel like I saw bits of it.
It's ironic. I feel like we saw it twice, right?
Yeah.
You saw the second half the first time, and then you watched the first half the second time.
That's probably why I can't remember very well. I need to watch it like all the way through. And like
it's a really great watch all the way through, because again, I'm at the third act right now, breaking it down. But there are so many, like in the third act, almost every single line or every other line is some kind of tie to a scene that happened earlier in the movie.
Yeah, we talked about this, and we talked about like, do you write it like one way? Do you write?
Yeah, do you write the beginning first and then try to find a way to put it in the third act, or do you write the third act first and then try to go backward?
Right.
I think most of it is that they wrote in the third act. They wrote the third act first.
Yeah.
Then they went to the first act, and then any last straggling things that then tied back to the third.
What I like doing, as you know, is like just finding the villain's motive first. Like just designing the villain and designing what they want to do and how they would do it. Even if they don't have to worry about the hero yet, like how would their plan go? And then just build a whole story around the villain, the antagonist. That's what I like doing, because I think a good villain makes a movie good.
I think a good villain makes a movie fantastic, but I think it's dangerous because if you give so much attention to your villain and not enough to whoever your protagonist is, it'll make it feel like your antagonist is running the movie.
It's tricky, right? It's really tricky. It's
like Dark Knight. I feel like Batman takes a back seat in that movie, even though it's his, because the Joker is really driving every scene.
Right. It's so true. It's so true. And like, I like that. I watched like the Dark Knight back, and I'm like way more intrigued. Like when the Joker's on screen, I'm like, let's go. And then when Batman's on screen, I'm like, this is kind of boring. Sometimes, like a lot of times, when Bruce Wayne's on the screen, I'm like, I feel like he's so uninteresting sometimes, you know?
I think the issue is because in the Dark Knight especially, and it's different in Begins and Rises because I think he takes a more active character. But in Dark Knight, the whole point is that Batman is reacting to Joker. So when Joker does something, Batman reacts.
Right.
But in a storytelling level, it's not as interesting as a character that takes action.
Right.
And then things react around them.
It's interesting. That's very interesting. Batman is a reactive character because like he waits for the villains to do shit and then he goes to capture them, right?
Right, but we want to see the villains do the shit, not
or
him.
You take a hero, you could take another hero that does a more active approach to seeking out injustices. I mean, Batman does that too.
I'll say, like in Begins, that's what he does. Batman takes an active approach to stop crime
before it happens sometimes, or when it's like building up to something.
Exactly, and then kind of crime reacts to that.
Yeah.
But in Dark Knight, it switched.
We watched recently, which we still have to watch episode 2, but so
we watched Titans.
So
season
Titans,
3,
like the HBO Max series. We watched season 3, episode 1 and 2. And
shout out to the director, by the way.
Some people, Carol Banker did a fantastic job.
Phenomenal job.
Episodes 1 and 2, and
I have so many questions.
Yeah, it was really awesome. And what we can talk about is if you've played Arkham Knight or the Arkham games, and you know the story, Batman's different Robins that he's had. You know, we got Nightwing, we got Red Hood, we got Tim Drake, aka another Robin or Red Robin, and then we got Damian Wayne. Basically, those are like the sort of main ones, right?
Right.
And in Titans, like season 3, episodes 1 and 2. You know, the premise of the show is that it's supposed to be like the Teen Titans, like the cartoon, but they're kind of like, it's kind of like an alternative take on the Titans when they're more grown, and like some of them, like, so
it's that angsty teen era.
If we talk about,
it's a literal Teen Titans.
We talk about like the Teen Titans, like animated show, right? We got Starfire, we got Robin, we got Raven, we got Cyborg, and we got Beast Boy. The only person not really in Titans out of those 5 is Cyborg, but Cyborg is on that show Doom Patrol, if you've heard of that one, and those shows are kind of connected a little bit.
Is it the same world?
I feel like it like was, and then they might have like
changed that,
said that it wasn't or something. I can't remember. It was a while ago.
There's been a lot of change-ups at DC recently.
But also, if you've seen the cartoon Young Justice, which is a great like DC cartoon.
I think Young Justice is probably one of the best DC cartoons ever made.
Especially those first 2 seasons. Those are just
the ones on Cartoon Network specifically, those seasons were like it's up there with like, you know, the animated Batman series, the Justice League series. I put it up there with those shows. Right. It is very good.
So I feel like Titans, the premise was like, all right, let's take, you know, Young Justice and Teen Titans and all those comic books that also were obviously that went into created the cartoons, and make a live action version where they're a little bit, where some of them are older, some of them are younger, and like you said, it's kind of, you know, it's like an edgy take on the world, which we see a lot of the time in TV and movies and all that stuff.
I feel like ever since Chris Nolan and Zack Snyder specifically did their thing on DC, that's kind of like the route now.
Right.
Like, go edgy with whatever the original.
And so like season 1 is like, it was kind of, there was this like, you know, whole thing about how Robin is like, fuck Batman in the trailer and stuff like that.
My God.
Right. And so season 1, I feel like is more so it's like own thing. And it feels very different from the characters you're familiar with. Mm-hmm. But then like by the time season 2 gets around, it starts to feel a lot more like the Teen Titans because they have like Titans Tower and all that stuff. And then the beginning of season 3, which we just watched, I watched the first 2 episodes of, and then I was like, Sean, you got to watch these first 2 episodes because they are fantastic. And like season 3, episodes 1 and 2 are really good because the story that's being told is Under the Red Hood and The Killing Joke in one story. Which those are two. Did I talk about this last time?
The Killing Joke.
The Killing Joke is the one where Batman and I told this last time on the podcast.
Oh, you did?
It's like the Batman and Joker and the two guys on the roof.
Yeah, you told that joke.
So I might have actually talked about this last episode. I might be treading the same ground.
You might be, because I think we did bring up the idea of like, has Batman ever killed in these?
But an update to the story is that Sean watched episode 1 with me.
I did.
And
I did. Wow, bro. At first, you know, like, and I try to shed this anytime I watch anything, but you know, people go in there with their perspectives. So I went in with my guard up, like, oh my god, here comes the angsty Titans doing their angsty thing, and they're all mad. Oh yeah, fuck Batman. Like, I went in with all these preconceived notions, and I really do try not to hold it to like whatever I'm watching. Like as I watch it, I try to like, all right, let it go. Let me just take whatever they give me, and then just watch, right? So I just watched it, and surprisingly, emotionally affected.
One of the cool things about it too is I feel like you would jump into season 3 if you're a Batman fan, and you would get enough. You would understand enough. If you know the Teen Titans,
even if you're not a huge if you just know of Batman and Robin's relationship,
right.
I think you can go into this first 2 episodes, and be able to follow along.
Right. So if you
know context that you need.
Yeah, and if you played Arkham Knight and you like Red Hood and you played Injustice, you got, Jason Todd, like that whole story, which is, he's sort of the more angsty Robin, the first Robin.
And they say it in the show, which is why I'm like, you even need that to go in and understand who Jason Todd is as a character, because they tell it to you.
Yeah.
So
and there's a famous sort of animated movie Under the Red Hood. That's pretty popular.
I when I was a kid, I watched that and I cried, bro.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good. And so this is the first like live action Red Hood story I believe that we've ever gotten.
This is the only,
and it's awesome. And I'm excited to continue the season.
I'm also excited to see where this goes. I was actually really blown away because again, like my view of the Titans is that first trailer where it's like fuck Batman. I'm like, okay, of course Robin says fuck Batman. Like I was like, whatever, these are angsty teens. But at least where we started with the season 3, it's not really like that.
They delved into like why he had issues with Batman, and then it makes him more understandable as a character.
And they also ask a lot of interesting psychological questions related to that, like his relationship to Batman.
Right. The beginning of season 3, I like, especially, it really feels like you're just going like, it doesn't even feel like a Teen Titans show. It feels like a Batman show. Even though there's some things like that you're not allowed to really see, like the bat suit, because there's like certain rights and issues with like, what DC lets certain
characters
shows,
and everything.
But like, but it doesn't really feel, you don't really even like, you still got Bruce Wayne in there, so it's like good enough, and you get everything else.
And I think I don't know, I'm one of the people that likes the idea of fleshing out Bruce Wayne before you flesh out Batman anyway, because some iterations like to lean in on the idea that Batman is the character and Bruce Wayne is just entirely the mask, which I don't disagree with. That is a way to tell it. But there's also a man behind like why he became Batman, and exploring that. Yeah. And then going into the world of Batman, I think is more interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I get more I connect with that character more.
Yeah. Yeah. And the Teen Titans that are in it are you got, Nightwing, aka Robin, Starfire, Beast Boy, Raven. Well, I guess I'm not supposed to. These are technically kind of spoilers. Not really spoilers.
What characters are in the?
Yeah, Raven.
If they're in the trailer, I think it's
Raven's in the show, but is elsewhere in the world. In the first 2 episodes, is not present.
I didn't see her.
And there's also usually Wonder Girl, Donna Troy, and then but she's also not present in the first 2 episodes, and then Superboy.
I was gonna, and I asked you this last time when we were watching it. It's like, is Titans more anthology than not? Because it feels like, the first season is centered around the Titans, but the first.
Did I say Beast Boy too. Beast Boy.
You said Beast Boy. But the 2 episodes we watched was not centered around the Titans.
That's the interesting
So
thing.
it's
That's what I'm
like-
saying. It's like it felt more like a Batman Robin show, didn't it?
Yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
like, so does each season just kind of change up which direction we kind of lean towards?
I would say like season 1 is like they were trying to do their own thing, like their very, very own spin on the Teen Titans, and they don't even really feel like the Teen Titans.
Mhm.
Like the one who feels the most, the characters that feel the most like the Teen Titans, honestly, it's mostly just like Robin, right? Like, but then
The guy said
season
fuck
2,
Batman.
yeah. But then season 2, they transitioned into a more like classical Titans thing by going to like, I think it's like San Francisco and getting Titans Tower.
Mhm.
And then they bring in like the old Titans, because apparently there was like this like old Titans team and stuff.
Mhm.
And so then you get like an Aqualad and like a Hawk and Dove. Which, like, if you've ever watched the animated Justice League cartoon,
They're
or
in
Justice League, yeah, Hawk and Dove are in it, and the actors who play Hawk and Dove are like so good. Like all of the episodes that they're in are awesome. Like they're just so cool, and like there's a cool backstory for them, and in season 2, that's when Jason Todd comes in, and the actor that they got for Jason Todd is like, I think he's fantastic. I think he's really awesome. Yeah, I mean, all the actors there, they do good jobs, I think. And I was very happy with the performances, especially in the episodes that we just watched and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, they're pretty good. They're pretty good. And I loved the writing, especially. Like, it wasn't just look at these angsty teens running around. It was more exploring Batman's relationship with Robin and what does that entail?
Right.
Is it a true loving relationship, or is there tension there?
Yeah.
Is there manipulation going on?
Yeah,
Like,
that was an interesting question.
what's going on? And I was like, oh,
Right.
see, now that's it. Now that's
Right.
I'm down for.
So if you're a huge Batman fan, and you miss seeing Robin on the live screen because you only got him that one time
In like the 90s?
Yeah,
Wait, was it 90s or 2000s? Something like that.
Batman, or I guess you got him twice. He was in 2 of them, I think. The
Yeah,
last two, with Val
those
Kilmer
last
and George
two.
Clooney.
And then we never saw him again.
But like, if you miss Robin live action, I would honestly like, you could watch all of Titans, but if you don't have the time, like if you want a good Robin story, Under the Red Hood is one of the best ones, and it's Titans season 3. You could probably just start season 3 and just boom right there.
Just get to it. I have not seen a single Titans episode except for these episodes, and I agree with that.
Yeah,
I completely agree with that.
I'm excited to see where the rest of the season goes. We'll see. I'm very intrigued.
We'll see, man. We got a lot on the chopping block to see.
Anyway, did you want to say something else about Begins before I dive into the Godfather Part 2?
Just a couple last things. It's not a spoiler because this movie is old, but I never realized that Ra's al Ghul is actually kind of like the true killer of Bruce Wayne's parents.
How's that?
And here's the thing, it's tucked. Like, you'd have to like break down the movie to see how this makes any sense. But basically, Gotham at the time of like the Wayne's death was going through a huge economical crisis, right?
Okay.
And the Waynes were doing whatever they could to kind of hold Gotham together. But because Gotham was going through this horrible recession, right? People were becoming more desperate. So in the courtroom, they say Joe Chill was this average middle-class man.
That's the guy that killed Batman.
That's the guy that killed Batman, not only in the movie,
sorry,
but in the
Batman's
comics.
parents, not Batman.
Right. Kills Batman's parents. But they say Joe Chill, who killed the Waynes, he was an average middle-class working man. Then the recession hit, and he became desperate. So then one day he needs some cash. He needs to feed himself. He finds the Waynes. He threatens them. He ends up shooting them, taking the money, and runs, right? Now, at the end of the movie, Ra's al Ghul says, actually, we came to Gotham before. We try to use a different method than our standard, like, tear down a city method, which was economics. So the League of Shadows...
Wasn't their plan to, like, tear down a city so that they could, like, rebuild it or something like that?
The idea is that this is the League of Shadows' whole, like, belief system, right? When a city becomes too corrupt past the point of being able to be redeemed, saved, right? The League of Shadows comes in, eradicates the city, and bails to let it kind of rebuild itself. So
what does eradicate mean?
Destroy.
Like kill everybody in the city? or just like destroy like all the government
I
systems?
feel like in terms of the League of Shadows, they mean just kind of like make it collapse on itself. Because what they reference as things that they did was they sacked the Roman Empire. They put the
so it's the government they're trying to take
the
down.
government basically,
okay.
like society itself, right? So the government,
But like
the
the
people,
city
the
government.
class system,
Okay.
like the system. They're trying to
make it break so that like rebels arise and then it just becomes something new type of thing.
Right.
Okay.
So when the system collapses, new people will come in and try to rebuild it.
Okay.
Those new that's what they're trying to do.
But
like,
are they putting in their own new people or are they just leaving it?
They just kind of leave it.
Oh,
From what it sounds like.
Huh.
So they sacked Rome, right? They brought down the Roman Empire. They burned London to the ground when London was having all those fires and they had to rebuild themselves. They put plague rats onto ships and spread the plague, killing millions of people.
Okay.
Like that's their whole shtick.
So okay, this is like okay.
They tear down societies that are full of decadence.
Okay.
And decadence means like kind of like corruption, like classism, being very self-centered in your nature, decadence.
Right. And Batman's like, no, I must save God.
So Ra's al Ghul, with the League of Shadows, tried to tear down Gotham through economics. So he tried to put it through such a terrible economic crisis that the society collapses on itself.
Okay.
That lines up with when Thomas Wayne was trying to stop the economic crisis.
Oh.
And Joe Chill was, he was going through that recession period.
Indirectly, Ra's al Ghul is the reason for all that stuff happening.
He's the reason, yeah.
Is it Ra's al Ghul or Ra's al Ghul?
In the movie, it's weird because it used to be Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah.
Batman Begins was the first time that they were like, fuck that. Ra's al Ghul.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not sure why. It could be these are just a bunch of white people that didn't know how to say the name. And so they're like, Ra's al Ghul.
It's also like Liam Neeson, so it's like
yeah.
Why did they make?
But no one corrected Liam Neeson because he made that mistake.
Oh, was it him that says is he the only one that says his name though?
No, everyone says Ra's al Ghul.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
it's Chris Nolan, it's the writers, it's the whole team that agreed that it was Ra's al Ghul. And that was the first time I've ever seen the character of Ra's al Ghul. So for me, he's Ra's.
So speaking of this guy, Ra's al Ghul,
yeah,
he usually has this daughter, and she's also like this assassin in the League of Shadows, Talia al Ghul, and she and then Batman has a kid with her, and then that's like the fourth Robin, Damian Wayne. So it's like,
is it the fourth? I thought he was the fifth.
No, I think he's the fourth.
We got
you got Dick Grayson, Jason Todd,
Jason, Tim. He's the fourth.
Yeah, Tim, and then Damian, and then you have like other characters like Stephanie Brown and stuff like that. But I think she was just like in a like alternate.
She was
retcons,
or
I don't think she was in the. I think she was just in like a Elseworlds type of story. So she was like a few. I don't know.
There's a lot of because I think I've seen Stephanie Brown. I feel like in some Batman.
I think she's a popular. I think she's like popular in kind of like Miles Morales or something like that. Like originally was like in a separate sort of universe, but then became a fan favorite. I don't know if she's in the main thing
like Huntress or something like that.
Was that what happened with Huntress?
Yeah, Huntress was a different universe thing, and then they just kind of rolled her over.
Yeah, maybe.
See the crisis.
I might be.
This
is
a bunch of comic bullshit. You know what I mean?
This is
comic bullshit.
Caught up on exactly how on the timeline.
What was I talking about again? Ra's and Raish. Yeah, so the movie goes by Ra's, and because I saw that was the first time I ever met the character of Ra's al Ghul. To me, he's always Ra's al Ghul. But if you watch the animated series first, I'm not sure if you can actually tell what the comics are saying with his name. But in the animated series, which came first compared to Begins, it's Raish. So
I don't know.
It's up to you, honestly, because I feel like Begins is a good enough interpretation of Ra's, where if you want to just say Ra's, I don't think anyone will judge you for it. I think it's more menacing in my opinion.
Whichever version, I guess, since they use both.
Yeah.
But what was I gonna say? Oh yeah. So should I go on with The Godfather Part 2?
Yeah, please go on. Tell us about The Godfather.
So I watched The Godfather I watched The Godfather Part 2 this week, and the week before I watched The Godfather Part 1. And like, I loved The Godfather Part 1. I thought it was like fantastic. And there was like every single scene had like a very specific reason for why it was happening. I really liked how I said this last week, but I really liked how they weren't afraid to like do time jumps just to like jump to the part in the story that you needed next. I really enjoyed The Godfather Part 2. That being said, I feel like there was so much more exposition that like sometimes wasn't necessary. And
in the second one?
In the second one.
And not in the first one?
In the first one, I felt like everything was like necessary.
Because that first one's pretty long too.
Yeah, the first one was like long, but the second one had an intermission.
Yeah. He said, you're going to have to come back to your seats for this.
So here's the thing, right? You got De Niro as the young, like, Godfather. So young Vito Corleone. And that's awesome because it's like Robert De Niro. But you don't get Brando in the second one, which is like, sad. Right? That's sad. But you get Michael Corleone, who's like, you know, the kid of Vito, and he's like, you know, running the business and all that stuff. And so it's like he's trying to like legitimize the Corleone family business, right? So he's trying to like buy these like Vegas hotels and stuff just so that he can like have it not be like a mafia based fan. Well, it like he's trying to, because he like promised his wife and stuff that he was gonna clean up his name and like so that it was more like official business and less like that, right? But then at the same time, you get flashbacks to how Vito became the Godfather. So that's awesome because you get like it kind of the movie then is like a period piece for like early 1900s New York City. Right. And then it's so cool because like all the costumes and all this stuff. And you get Vito Corleone as a kid in Sicily and stuff like that too. Right. So that's awesome. But then here's my biggest thing was the pacing, especially in the first act. The second act was like much more like exciting, I think, than the first act. And I can use that term because there's literally an intermission. You know what I'm saying?
You can literally see where it is.
Right. Yeah. And like there's so much exposition of back and forth between Michael going and trying to set up the family business and deal with all these issues, and then Robert De Niro being Vito Corleone in New York in, you know, like in the past, right? But it really feels a lot of the time like there's not that much correlation between the two stories. At least that's the way it felt to me. And although there is some because, you know, he's having his kids in the past and stuff, and you're talking about the kids in the future, it feels semi removed from each other.
I was gonna say, is there ever like a plot point that connects these two different parts together?
I feel like the thing that connects them together is the first movie. So like it almost would, and actually when I was looking it up on IMDb, like there is a mini series that edits the first and second movie together in chronological order. So I want to watch it.
That sounds interesting, actually.
Right, because I feel like the story has a bunch of really cool points, and if edited in chronological order, it actually might be like better for the viewing experience. I don't know. I haven't watched the miniseries, but it felt like there was like so much, and apparently there's actually extra scenes in the series too that weren't in the other movies. So like, but it would be really cool if after the second movie, then you got to see, you know, how De Niro become Brando. And then you get to see the Godfather in action. But at the end of the second movie, you don't get to see the Godfather in action. It's just kind of like, you know, you get the backstory of Vito and you get the mirror image of how, so you see how De Niro built his empire.
Right.
And then you see how Michael Corleone is running the empire now.
Nice.
Right. And I would say that the beautiful part about the movie is that you learn about, they're basically both kings, right? Like I talked about, or I don't even think if I got to talk about Richard III. Like
I think we did talk about Richard III.
But yeah, it's like, how do you run your empire, right? Like in Richard III, it's like he is kind of betrayed by his right-hand men and all that stuff because he treats nobody he trusts nobody. He doesn't treat his right-hand people well, so he fails, right?
Yeah. And
I feel like The Godfather kind of tells the story of that. It's very similar. It's like they're kings of this sort of empire, right? And it's like a family-based empire. And like The Godfather built it up off of trust and favors. So like you did something for the Godfather did something for you, right? But the moment that somebody like betrays the Godfather,
All hell breaks loose.
like nobody really gets a second chance, basically. It's kind of how it's run, right? But that being said, I kind of feel like I kind of felt this sense of like Vito like ran his Vito is, you know, Brando / De Niro, the Godfather. He ran the family like more so on trust, and he still ruled with like an iron fist, but I feel like there was like so much more like compassion. And I know it sounds weird because the Godfather seems very stern from Vito than from Michael. Yeah. And like
that's ironic, isn't it? Because Michael starts off kind of cleaner.
And if you don't want spoilers, you know, because I do highly recommend. It's like Hello. Yeah, it's like 70s.
Those are old movies.
So like so at the end of the second movie, pause or skip, you know, like a little bit if you want to get the end of the movie. Mm-hmm. You learn that like Michael didn't even want the family business. Like he was trying to like join the army or something like that.
Right, in the first one, right?
He just said it's like a flashback at the end of the second movie, and it's like the family, right? It's like all the kids of Brando. It's like Brando's birthday, and he's like he dropped out of college, he like enlisted in like the military or something like that, and like his older siblings are like, "What the bro? Like why? Like you're gonna break, you know, your father's heart on his birthday and all this stuff." And I feel like it kind of implied that he just didn't really want to even be like, and I might be wrong, but I felt like it implied that he didn't even really want to be a part of the family business, but he was the one that Vito knew could do it because like he was gonna be strong enough or something like that. Because there's like two older brothers. There's like Sonny, and then there's oh my god, what's his name? Why can't I think of his name? Fredo. And Fredo is kind of this guy who's like, he's an older brother, but he didn't get to run the family business because the Godfather didn't want him to. So he kind of feels stiffed, and then there's this thing, yeah. And we actually just saw, I think when we were at Guardians, they made a Godfather 2 reference in one of the trailers for one of the movies we were seeing.
Yeah, no, there was a trailer for the theater. It was like a little ad,
and he was like, "You broke my heart, Fredo," or something like that. Yeah.
They were doing a bunch of lines from a bunch of different movies,
right? And so that's an interesting thing that happened there with like who gets to run the family, right? And that's very similar to like Richard III. It's like who gets to run the family next is always in a kingdom. That's going to be a big dynamic, like which son gets to run the family business, right? Yeah. And I think like one of the things that I noticed is that although Michael might be capable of kind of running it very strictly and sternly, and he's trying to make it, you know, legitimate, by the books and legitimate, he doesn't quite have the personable skills that his father had. Like he's like so much more harsh and like semi-mistrusting of even his father's right-hand men that like always were loyal to his father. And although I don't even know if you could say that Michael did, like I don't know if the Godfather would have done it differently, because like Michael ruled in a similar way where it's like, if you betray me, then I'm not going to give you a second chance, right? But I still feel like Vito, like people either betrayed him less or they were scared of him more, maybe because he was older, that it really felt like Michael's not quite, like he loses himself. He really loses himself, where it seems like Vito didn't. And I'm intrigued to watch a third one because I do want to know what happens next to like Michael and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's,
even though I've heard like kind of mid things about it, but it's like I'm so intrigued because I'm like, what do the writers want to say? Like, what is the message here? Because like the ending felt like, and I actually, because it was so long intermission, I watched half of it one day and then I watched the rest of it today. So I have the second act fresh in my mind. And I was like, what is like the message here? Like, what is like the message?
There's clearly a parallel between Vito and Michael.
Yes.
That you're supposed to like kind of connect the dots.
I think that's what people love about the second movie, right? Especially because like it's awesome to see Robert De Niro playing like Vito, younger Marlon Brando. It's like so cool, and you get to see how the Godfather became the Godfather while you're watching his son be the new Godfather.
Right.
So it is really cool, but it's a lot more exposition. A lot more exposition.
I see. And that's the part where you weren't really connecting with.
It's not that I wasn't connecting with it. It's just like I feel like the first film is like a standalone, like incredible film, right? And the second film is like incredible in the context of like the Godfather world because you get to learn so much more exposition. Like I said, you get like kind of like cool period pieces where you get to see these different eras and stuff like that. But like it clearly is more a part of a cohesive whole, like a trilogy, because it feels like it doesn't quite end. Maybe. That's what I can't figure out. Like, because like
it doesn't quite end.
Here's the thing: you could argue like what is an ending, right? Like what is an ending?
Yeah.
Because like I would say that the ending in The Godfather 2 is like, yeah, you could say it's an ending because it really shows the level of mistrust and Iron Fist ruling that Michael has gone, and it really shows how the mighty have fallen, like emotionally, and how far his mistrust had gone, but also how just everything seemed to be starting to kind of fall apart. But it didn't feel like, and I got an end to the movie, but I feel like there's still another chapter, and there is another chapter. So I feel like I have to watch the third one, even though so many people say it's like not worth watching.
Yeah.
But I also feel like that other chapter could have been the first movie.
That's interesting.
So
because it's not the first movie.
yeah, it's like because it's like a prequel and a sequel at the same time.
Do you think part of
it's
it
a
is
prequel
like
and a sequel at the same time?
A prequel and a sequel at the same time. I guess they wanted to do both.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing:
That's
it's like,
what it is.
what if the first one they had certain constraints because it's the first one, and so they could only tell a very concise, put together story. But now that the first one is the GOAT,
and you can do whatever you want with the other ones, that like, do you feel like there's a certain level of like you've given now more power to the creative to just do whatever they want instead of like having to fight for things?
Directed by Francis Ford Coppola. Written by Mario Puzo. And there was a novel original. So I'm so intrigued to see how the novel.
Wait, is all three from the novel?
I don't know. I don't know if it's all three or if it's like just the first one and then they like added. I don't know, but I'll be intrigued to read it.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so I think I'll watch the third movie first. Now that I've already watched the first two films, and from the reviews I read, the book is really good, but like the movie did the book justice. So like the movies are considered, even better than the book, I think. And I think the book is written by Mario Puzo. So I wonder how much input Mario Puzo, like I wonder if Mario Puzo wrote the screenplay or if it's just
he might have written both, actually.
He might have written both. I don't know. And it should also be noted that The Godfather 1 came out in like 72. The Godfather 2 came out in like 74. I might be a few years off, but I think that's right. And then The Godfather 3 came out in 1990, I think.
Jesus fuck.
So like Al Pacino, who plays Michael Corleone, is like older, a lot older. And like but one of the like the right-hand man to the Godfather, to Brando and to Vito and to Michael. He's not like Robert Duvall. Tom Hagen, I think is his character's name now. I think I got that right. Is not in the third one apparently. And I'm like, because like why? Because he's like he's really good. He's really good. Yeah, and also Brando's not in the third one either, and Brando's only in the first one.
Right.
So it's
that could also been around that time because in the back half of Brando's career, things are getting a little like messy.
Right, like he was apparently kind of difficult to work with and all that stuff. Oh, it was cool seeing De Niro put on like a Marlon Brando impression. Because he does kind of talk like
he figured, because I was gonna say like I saw like a quick clip when I walked in and I was like, oh, he actually looks like.
Oh yeah, he looks like a young Brando. He does kind of. So it's like, it works out.
Those are big shoes to fill.
I wonder if that was one of his. I mean, I'm sure that's one of the things that got him huge. But I wonder how big he was before that. I don't know if Taxi Driver came out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because Taxi Driver is his big.
What year is
right?
Taxi Driver?
I'm gonna guess 76. That's my guess.
Let me check.
I'm not sure. I feel like it's the 70s though. It looks kind of like it.
Yeah.
It feels like that same era as Godfather.
Yeah, he looks about the same age from what I remember.
Something like
Oh, you got it right. Nice. 76.
Dead ass?
Dead ass.
Look, hey, yo, film buffs. Who's the goat now?
And I got the years right for the Godfather part.
72, 74,
That's
yeah.
what I'm talking about. Let me see if I got it for part 3 right.
I wonder, yeah, you know what? Maybe the Godfather Part 2 did get him.
Yeah, 3 is 90. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So Al Pacino and Diane Keaton Diane Keaton plays Kay, who marries Michael Corleone. But like they're both in the third one, which that is probably good enough for the cast because they are fantastic. So I will watch the third one. Will I watch it this week? We'll see. I kind of want to complete the trilogy, but it's like these movies are long. Like I watched the first one all the way through because it really engaged me like all the way through. But the second one, the first act, was a little bit. I think there was a little bit too much exposition.
When the intermission came on, you're like,
I was like, let me
get out of here.
And then I finished it today because I wanted to talk about it on Starbound. But I was like, that was like a lot of exposition. But I want to watch the series because let me actually.
I'm curious how it would piece it together because. I haven't seen 2 or 3, and I haven't seen 1 for like ages. So I'm curious to kind of see it all together.
Yeah, let me check.
Might be an interesting experience. Something fun to do.
Saga. Okay, so the miniseries came out in 77, 3 years after the second one, which means the third one wasn't even out yet.
Oh, so it's not in there.
But here's the description. It's 4 episodes long.
Okay.
The Godfather and The Godfather Part 2 were re-edited together in chronological order with additional footage added. So it's like, I guess like director's cut shit is added too. So instead of watching it in fact, you wanted to watch it with me, but you didn't have time. So I would be down just to watch this version with you if you want.
I'd be down.
Okay, cool. Because then we could chop it into 4 episodes. And the first episode is an hour and 30 minutes. The second episode, an hour and 30 minutes. Third is an hour and 30, and the last is 2 hours and 20 minutes. So that's still like movie length episodes. That's how much content is in this.
They are 4 films.
In fact, I kind of want to watch it before I watch the third one.
Yeah, and then go into the third one with this new content.
Because this was edited together before the third one came out.
Yeah. So you have to watch this and then the third one.
This reminds me of like the people that edited Obi-Wan into a movie form.
Yeah, which is I don't want to say way better because Disney's going to come for me. But if you haven't seen the Obi-Wan series and you want to see it, I recommend actually watching the movie version first and then to get more context, watch the series after.
Yeah.
Especially if you're like an Obi-Wan fan. I'm guessing if you're an Obi-Wan fan, you've already seen the series. But if you have seen the series and not the movie, I highly recommend the movie. I think you'd appreciate the creative choices that was done in the
Where can they find it if they want? Is it on like
it might be more difficult to find. Try to search up the Obi-Wan movie. There used to be a site for it that you could go to.
Do you know who did it?
Let me see if I can search up his name really quickly.
In the meantime, I'll tell a story about this one scene though in The Godfather Part 2 with De Niro. It's like I'm trying to think about how to tell you which scene it is without spoiling it. I would say it's sort of like the point where you really understand that he has become the Godfather. And it's this sort of action sequence, has him on a roof. He's like climbing on a roof and stuff. Robert De Niro. That scene, oh my God. That's one of the most incredible scenes. It was like a big sort of celebration throughout the city and stuff like that. And honestly, if you don't want to watch the movies, but you just want to like Google cool scenes, that scene is fantastic. There's also this like, I want to say it's like an assassination scene in the first movie. That if you watch it, that's another film scene that we studied a lot in like film school and stuff, just because it's like known to be like very like cinematically like pleasing, I guess, or something.
Okay, interesting.
What, do you find the guy who did it?
Yes, it's a guy named Kai Paterson. Shout out to Kai Paterson. He already got like hella news coverage for this, but shout him out again because it was a very good edit.
Yep.
Kai Paterson saw the Obi-Wan series, decided, all right, this feels like it wants to be a movie. Let me just see what it looks like in the edit. He goes, edits all 6 episodes. I think 6, maybe 9. I forgot how many episodes.
I think it was 6, but I'm not sure.
I'm going to say it was 6 episodes. He shrunk it down to, I think it's a 2-hour movie.
That's good because my biggest gripe with Obi-Wan was that, like, I felt like so much of it was so unnecessary. Like, so much of it.
And it's because literally it used to be a movie script that they decided to turn into a series.
Yeah.
And I think, personally, I don't think that was the right choice to make, or at least, even if it was the right choice, I don't think it was executed the way they intended when they decided to turn it into a series. Because the script really feels like you just took a movie, broke it up, and just tried to slide things in the middle.
It does feel like that.
Yeah.
I need to watch that cut still, and I want to.
I have seen the cut with my family. It is fantastic. It's a little bit harder to find. Search up Kai Paterson Obi-Wan edit. There will be a little link that'll take you to a second link because he said on the first link that you can't just share it normally anymore, just because, like, you know, he did kind of he did kind of take Disney's content and edit it himself. So
I think it
take
says
the
like,
link. It shows you a second link where you can see it or download it. Go to that second link, download it, watch it. I highly recommend his edit. It is fantastic. And then also watch the series after, just because you want to support also the people that literally shot it, right? You know what I mean? Like, I appreciate the edit for the editor, but also appreciate the show for everyone involved in the show.
Right.
Because Ewan McGregor, man. Shh.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we love you.
Ewan McGregor, bro. That guy is.
He brings it.
He brings it.
brings it.
He's actually I think one of the takeaways from the show that people didn't like is that we didn't get enough Ewan McGregor, and we had too many other characters to focus on.
Yeah, it was cool that him and Hayden Christensen got to come back and do that. As like
They both do a phenomenal job in that show.
I would love to watch the cut because I feel like there were great scenes. There were some awesome scenes throughout. So many unnecessary scenes.
It's funny. There were great. I feel like there was one phenomenal scene per episode.
That's kind of what it felt.
So if you just shred all the fat and just take those 6 scenes and just turn it into a movie,
yes,
fantastic movie.
I agree. Yeah,
fantastic movie.
Yeah. That those, like, some of the times, like, well, I can't spoil it. It was like they were.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
some of those running scenes though, like we're a little.
Yeah, I don't want to hate on, because I think it was Deborah Chow that directed the Obi-Wan series. She's a great director, not just as like a woman or whatever, but like just a director, just a creative. But the way some of the chase scenes are shot in the show,
it's like unbelievable. That's what it feels like.
You're not getting the message across. I feel like the idea with any chase is that there's tension. Is this person going to catch this other person? Right? That does not come across when you watch those. I think
it's also like sometimes they're based around speed, and I can't believe that one character would outrun the other character. And like there are more creative ways I feel like they could have done to make the character escape.
There's a way to shoot it where it makes sense.
Right. You could
they didn't do that.
The character could hide behind tree. Character could then go the other way. Right.
Exactly. But maybe character knows the terrain better and tries these different routes that the other characters don't know about.
Right. But sometimes it's just like ridiculous. And I'm like, all right, I don't know if I can believe this.
It's like, and maybe it's just in the script, but I don't feel like it was directed well.
Right.
I think even if you kept it the way it was, blocking wise, and you maybe just shot it differendly, it wouldn't feel so
I agree.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
But some of those chase scenes they don't land. They don't land well.
Hey, you can't win them all.
Can't win them all, bro. That's what I'm saying. It's like it's all good. Any creative, you're going to fail one way or another anyway. So don't take anybody's.
But you're going to succeed in a lot of ways too.
Exactly.
Which, like, if there is enough good scenes to make a dope movie cut, that still makes a lot of the stuff you did very.
Yeah, the fact that there's a movie cut that's fantastic doesn't take away from what you already did. It just means that the magic was there. It just got lost in a couple other things.
And I'm not blaming the editors. They were given a difficult task. They had to do this like 6-episode Obi-Wan show, and maybe there wasn't 6 episodes to write. Maybe there was, like you said, like
one movie to write.
Exactly.
And you have to fill in the rest.
That being said, The Godfather has like so much cool content that like I feel like the TV show will probably have a lot of exposition, but in like a fun way. I feel like it'll be like a fun way because
Giving
like
details.
because I told you how like sometimes the Godfather, like because it's a prequel and a sequel, The Godfather Part 2, The Godfather, I kind of want to watch The Godfather after The Godfather Part 2 again. You know what I'm saying?
It was all just an ad for you to watch the first one again.
It kind of is.
It's all just an ad,
Right.
bro.
And so
It's
I'm like,
funny.
well, if I can watch it in chronological order, then it would be even like better, I think.
Fantastic.
So like I really am excited to watch how they splice the first movie in with the flashbacks of the second movie.
Plus whatever content.
Plus the sequel of the second movie and all that stuff. Yeah. And plus the additional content. So I really feel like it'll be I'm hyped for the
I'm also
TV
hyped. I'm
movie.
curious to see kind of where it goes.
Yeah,
bro.
yeah,
That should
yeah,
be
yeah.
a very entertaining
And new
watch.
stuff to discover. It'll be fun. That'll be fun. It'll be a good time. Yeah. I'm excited.
Another note. Should we get into my controversial topic?
Oh yeah, I think we're deep enough into the episode.
We're deep enough, man. All right. I don't know how to. Because if we do anything wrong in this next topic, TMZ will come for us, and we're not.
Don't say us. You're the one who's bringing this up. Yeah, don't say us. No, not us. Just him. I'm not saying. My ears are sealed. What are you gonna say? You want to whisper it to me first?
No. It's not that bad. I mean, it depends on. It does. Look, let's just get into it. So I've been thinking for the last week about this particular topic, just based on some of the conversations we've had, some of the experiences I've been having recently.
No. We haven't had any conversations.
We have had zero conversations. No prep time.
I don't even know what he's gonna say, but wow.
He doesn't actually know. We don't have pre-meetings
talking
talking about this. Wow.
I don't know what the fuck he's about to say.
I'd like to talk about relationships, but a particular topic in
Okay.
relationships. Claiming a person in either an objectifying way or in a romantic way.
Okay.
Let me introduce you to the idea, because this is something that kind of came up. You ever been with somebody and like you just love being with them so much that you just want to be like, oh my God, like I'm yours.
Well, there's some great songs like that, right?
Right. Or like
Because
you're all
like
mine, or like
because it's legit, yeah. Whether it's this like concept of like let me like do like I will do anything to be with said person. Like I'm all yours. There's some great songs about it, like All Yourn.
And then there's also
I'm Yours by Jason Mraz.
But then there's also the flip side of that, where like, what if that turns into either a controlling factor, where it's like, oh, you're mine, so I can do whatever I want with you, or that other side of it, where it's like, oh, you're mine, like all my other objects, then you're just kind of like, you know, you're a piece of meat for me, whatever. And you don't really treat them like people; you treat them like your property.
Like because somebody says they're yours, or because you say that. Like
I'm asking,
I'm
asking, is it right to claim someone as yours?
No. Like slavery? No. like that's what I thought you were talking about at first. You're like, is it right to claim another person? I'm like, no. No.
In the romantic sense.
In the romantic sense. See, now you got that.
Because I've seen people who like, and then this is just my personal experience as a straight male, but I've seen women be like, I want to be claimed. Like, I'm your girlfriend. You have to treat me.
Okay.
Like
Well. Okay.
X, Y,
Okay.
Z.
Okay. Well. We're now we're talking about like when that I feel like is.
And it can apply to any. This is a genderless topic. But I'm just talking about my experience.
I feel like that in that sense of the word, like when people say I want to be claimed, they don't actually mean like claimed,
Claimed,
right?
yeah.
They don't mean like owned, like that type of shit.
Yeah.
When they say claimed, it's like, well, it's probably different per person, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like it's like a mutual agreement, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when I say that, if you accept the claim, like if you claim me as your girlfriend or something like that, then you are having an agreement with me, which means that I'm all yours, but you are all mine as well.
It's a trade.
But it's an exchange. It's a deal, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like it's like a relationship. Mm-hmm. It's like, you know, we are mutually exclusive. Most of the time, it means like we are mutually exclusive to each other. So it's like I will give you all of me, therefore I am yours. if
you're all mine.
you're all mine.
Mm.
And then sometimes I think there are like dynamics in the relationship where one person doesn't want
Give that.
or doesn't want to be all the other persons for the rest of time, and then you start getting things in the relationship where it gets a little bumpy and rocky in the road, right?
Yeah.
And then what are you gonna do? But that happens in like so many relationships all the time.
I think there's always a power dynamic when it comes to relationships that like a very good, healthy, long-lasting relationship will find a way to balance the power dynamic where it's a give and a take. You know what
Exactly.
I mean? Like you're partners, right? You're working together to find the best solution. You're not working against each other.
I think you both have to want to be like together in the long run for it to really work, right? And like here's the thing, it's like, I mean, this is from my perspective, but it's like I feel like everybody at one point or another has like somebody that they want but they can't have.
Yeah.
Like everybody has that as a universal experience, no?
Right.
And then a lot of people also have people that they could have but they don't want, right? And it might not be anything personal, but it just might be that way, right? But that person that wants you that you don't want might really want you, right? So if you get into a relationship with somebody like that, because maybe you do want them at some point, that could definitely make a relationship a little rocky because it's like one person may be so much more invested than the other person, even if the one person was semi-invested. Then there might kind of be a lot more tension in the relationship, right?
We're not at the same page here,
right? But it's not like you either did necessarily anything wrong getting in the relationship. It'll just create potential. It might not, but so I feel like there has to be like, and it doesn't have to be, but I feel like as like on a whole, like general thing, it might be better if there's a decent amount of interest from both parties, right? But the question is like, how do you measure interest? It's like the most
I think
vague
it's trials
thing.
and tribulations the only way you can figure that out.
Right.
There's no way to measure it off the bat. You measure it by actions that are taken,
right? And
experiences that you have together.
I think you should have like a list. Well, a mental list at least of like,
write it down.
What am I willing? Like what? Like you got to be fighting for yourself at the same time. It's like, what am I willing to be lenient on? What are some things I'm not willing to be lenient on? What am I willing to compromise on? Is the person I'm in the relationship with on a similar level of compromise with me, willing to?
And that's the thing that I struggle with. I feel like sometimes like the idea of like a woman claiming me feels so nice. You know what I mean? It's like, this is my boyfriend, yada yada, like we do this together. Like that feels very nice. Like, oh my God, like someone is so invested in me that like they want me to themselves. Like it feels very nice.
Right.
But I'm also highly afraid of what other implications might come with that.
Right.
Because it's like, do you mean like I'm your boyfriend, so I have no personal freedom anymore to do what I want to do?
Tricky. It becomes very tricky.
Or like what does that actually mean when you claim somebody like that?
Yeah, I think it's like also like
because I'm very guarded about my freedom. So I also get slightly disgusted if someone claims me.
I think, bro, it's like it's where you are in life too. You know? Like I think it really does matter before you get into like a relationship or like a serious relationship. Like, what do you guys both see in the future? What do you want in the future? And that's that type of thing matters. And sometimes people don't have those conversations.
This all comes back to we keep having the same solution for every relationship issue, which is communication. That's something that people don't do enough of.
It's tricky.
And if you just communicated, a lot of your problems would magically disappear, bro. Not all of them, but a lot.
Not magically, through communication.
Through communication, bro.
Right.
Just talk about it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So, I don't know. For me right now, I don't want to be claimed. I'm in like not in like just a freedom space in my life right now. But the idea of someone claiming me is like,
the way you
you're gonna
say
take something
it,
away
the
from
way
me.
you say it makes it sound like somebody's taking something away from you.
That's what it feels
but
like.
but
Right now.
you probably wouldn't want to get into a relationship where somebody's taking something away from you.
Yeah.
You'd probably want to get into a relationship where somebody's enhancing you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So like if somebody's taking something away, that you probably should. That's a red flag, right?
Yeah.
If you're losing something, right? But if you're gaining something from a relationship, and I'm not talking even about like monetary gain, that's like a given, right? It's like obviously like if you're talking about a future household, like if you want to get married and have, that and like a shared bank account, a financial thing is obviously like it takes a financial burden off to get married and, obviously have kids is more of a financial burden. But my point is that like
Kitties
on a emotional level, like is person bringing you up, is person bringing you down, and it might not be person's fault, but it's just like, do you two enhance each other for the better, or do you bring each other down? And it really might not be anything personal. It's just like A or B, and there is gray area. So it's like, but do the ups outweigh the downs, or do the downs bring you down too much?
And also, are you willing to work through the downs?
Are the downs worth the ups?
Yeah.
Are the ups worth the downs?
Are the ups worth
Personally,
are the downs worth the ups? Are the ups worth?
I don't think you can really judge anybody for coming to one conclusion or the other. It's just like, it's just how it is.
That's just how it is, man.
You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. So if you look, if you're in a relationship, I'm not talking like a therapist. Are you ready? Look, if you're in a relationship right now and your partner is hurting you in ways that you don't like, you should try to communicate these issues. But if there's a point where you feel like you cannot communicate, it's okay to leave them. Be free. Summer's coming up. It's hoe season. You know what I mean?
So this
Get
is
out
that
here.
Season. This is that season.
It's ramping up. I can feel it. I can feel the people outside right now, bro.
People are walking
Hoeing
outside.
season is on. You feel me?
What was I gonna say?
Man,
I think
that's also part of my therapy.
Another thing is dependency. A lot of times people in like relationships, long-term relationships, accidentally build dependency on significant other without intending to. And it's like that is one of the most dangerous.
That's the toxic,
treacherous territories to roam, because it's like, then you might find yourself. I mean, a lot of people find themselves like out here in Los Angeles, maybe in like living situations where people are financially codependent. And it's like, sometimes that's in a relationship type beat, right? And so then it's like, if you want to stay in LA, if you want to continue your Los Angeles career, and rent is not cheap out here, then you get people staying in romantic relationships and they got no other roommates.
That sounds horrible.
That's what I'm saying.
Sounds terrible.
So I think it's important to have, like, especially with that type of thing, a little bit of financial independence. Like, and you got to somehow find that, unless you are so sure that the relationship is going to work, or that you are in a relationship with somebody reasonable enough that you will both work together to get yourself out of it independently, while even if you're breaking up. But like, so many breakups can become so messy that you have no idea what could happen if you start, living.
That's the thing. It's like, I feel like even if you feel secure, it's not about security. It's about having something for yourself. Right? The idea of a relationship, and a lot of movies do this romantically, that's such a toxic idea, but like, you completing me, that without you, I am nothing. That is a terrible.
Yeah, I don't know why so many
message.
movies send that message.
It seems romantic, but it's horrible.
Right.
Because that means you are reliant on this person to function.
So we're talking about the enhancements, right?
Yeah.
You can't let you can do whatever you want. I'm not telling you what to do.
Try not to do things that will hurt you or others.
Right.
But
and enhancements, like a spouse would be nice if you enhance each other, right?
Yeah.
But then you got to be careful that enhancements don't become dependency.
Yeah.
That's tricky, right?
Yeah. I think a person should up your life, but it shouldn't be your life.
Right. So you got to have a level of independence, and then enhancements can be nice, but you shouldn't have to lean on the enhancements. Now, If you're talking about a longer term relationship and you do enhance each other and you both are always doing well, I think it's okay to lean on each other. Obviously, it's kind of the point of a relationship, right? But
it's tricky. It's really tricky territory.
That kind of goes into that the idea of like trophy people. Like you're in a relationship with someone that's just a trophy. First of all, that's a fucked up thing to say. Secondly, that's true for a lot of people. Where you were talking about financial dependency, right? It's like I rely on my lifestyle to be the way it is because of the person that I'm with, and for me personally, that's not a way to live. Some people love that idea of like, fuck going to college, fuck getting a job, fuck all that. I just want to be somebody's trophy and I can just like chill.
Dude, I got nothing against those people. You gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, and
Or you can do whatever the fuck you
I
want.
don't hate that concept, but I feel like if you're in a trophy situation, there will always the point of contention in that type of relationship will always be freedom.
The point of contention.
Because whenever you want to make a decision that's against your partner will be like, I pay for everything.
Dude,
you live with me.
That's happens in so many movies when there's like a toxic relationship, right?
Yeah.
It's like, especially old movies where it's like the patriarchy is like, the father is like stern and like running the household.
Yeah, they're running the household type
especially
shit.
with like kids, especially. It's like, you're not going to do that on my watch. This is my house.
Yeah.
Right? And like, that is like, that's such a common
It's not a
thing.
healthy, I don't feel like that's a healthy relationship. I can understand on a certain, especially with parent-children relationships are so special because your children are still developing, so you have to kind of be their guiding.
Right.
Of
like kids.
No, you cannot do these.
A lot of the time, kids have to depend on their parents. Sometimes kids can't, and then they got to figure out life on their own.
Yeah. And that's where you get the interesting kids coming out of the woodworks, the ones that figured out how to like only depend on themselves and not their parents.
Right.
It's very different for them.
And there's also the point of like, okay, there's always societal standards of what a household is supposed to look like.
Yeah.
And then what most households actually look like.
Yeah.
And I feel like most households are not the nuclear family that TV and movies have taught us is their norm. Like most households are not.
If you feel like you have a piece missing in this American dream concept of a family, it's not just the American dream either. There's a lot of different countries with like this perfect family idea. If you feel like a piece is missing from that, you're like 90% of the population.
I would say you're 99%. Like, who's normal? It's weird if you're perfectly normal, It's very strange. There has to be something wrong. Like it's weirder to be perfectly normal than it is to be weird. In my opinion.
The reason why it's more normal for it to be abnormal, that weird idea of abnormal, is because every human being is different.
Right.
With different experiences.
Exactly.
So we can't all fit in the same box idea of what normal looks like.
What's normal? What is normal?
People.
What is abnormal? What is that? That term doesn't make any sense.
Normal
is the average. Right? That's what I feel like the closest thing we can put it to.
Yeah.
The average is like you put all the numbers together. It's like the closest. Like,
what are you going to see most often?
Right.
Yeah.
But like, who cares what you see? You know what I'm saying?
And it's also, what we all consider normal is not normal. It's actually abnormal to be normal. So.
Right. I feel like there's such a pressure just to fit in and like do as others do.
Huge
pressure, and like obviously to a certain degree, we're gonna all go to the grocery store or do this or do that. I mean, that's because we need to get food, so that makes sense how those types of things become the normal. But when it comes to like how many kids should you have? How many
parents should you have?
How many parents should you have?
Growing up, so many people will come to me like, oh, your dad's not around. That must be rough, or it should suck, or whatever. I'm like, maybe I'm like a statistical idea. Maybe that changes something in me, but I'm very happy with just having my mom.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird.
Only have my mom.
To me, it's weird that people would bring that up.
It is.
Right?
It's weird, bro. Right. I'm not lacking. You might feel lacking if your father left you one day, but like I've always had my mom. I'm very happy and comfortable. Leave me alone.
It's like but it's like a societal assumption based on the TV and movies that people watch.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I think we don't give enough attention to. Like TV and movies have such an impact on
the media.
It really
fake news.
And the funny thing is, I'm not even talking about like news. I'm talking about TV and movies.
Oh, true.
Because like that's what we watch for entertainment.
Yeah.
And like then sitcoms. You look at like the perfect sitcom family, or you look at Friends. You're like, what are my 20s supposed to be like? And you watch your favorite sitcom, you know, and you're like, okay, this is how life is supposed to be in my 20s. My favorite sitcom growing up with my sister and my brother that would watch too, How I Met Your Mother, right? And that's like how he kind of goes to the big city and looks for the love of his life and does all this stuff. I feel like that's kind of how I feel in my 20s. But like a lot of people's favorite sitcom is New Girl or The Office and stuff like that, which I haven't seen as many episodes of. But I really kind of have this theory, I might be wrong, that like, what else do you do other than like mirror your favorite kind of like art, like and lifestyle? Because like you look towards your favorite movies, TV shows to be like, how do I live this next chapter of my life, right?
That's literally what I did, bro. I took it's not just in art, but like in the role models that you find in art specifically as well.
Yeah.
Because I took 2 or 3 of my biggest role models, right? Which is Chadwick Boseman, Drake, maybe J. Cole. There's another person in there, and I can argue that third. But I took those 3 and was like, I'm gonna just model whatever they're doing. I literally just take what they do.
But
Monkey see, monkey
but
do
J. Cole
type
said
shit.
no role models.
I know that's the ironic thing. But when he said no role models, I felt that.
You're like, damn, what a role model.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, damn, he's right.
J. Cole is great, bro.
J. Cole is
Cole's
fucking
fantastic.
fantastic,
Middle Child,
bro.
great song. Great song.
He gets better with age, bro.
Yeah,
I feel like whatever next project he's doing,
Fine wine.
Fine wine.
But
Fine wine.
yeah, and so like for me as well, it's like I look to my favorite artists to be like, what should I be doing, right? Like some of my favorite artists growing up, Gambino, Chance, like and if you're talking about movies, we're talking about actors, we're talking about directors, all that sort of thing. I could name. Let me think.
I definitely, in terms of directors, I look towards Ryan Coogler. I
Well,
look towards Kevin Feige.
I look towards Edgar Wright.
Edgar Wright. Kevin Feige's a producer.
I
Edgar
look
Wright for sure.
and
I look towards Matt Reeves recently.
oh yeah. Well, here's the thing. Like one movie can really just like just do so much that sometimes it's not even about like one director. It's just like, wow. Yeah, like it's like this movie is done so well that
2 movies that changed my life: Happy Feet, Black Panther.
There's
definitely more in there, but those 2 movies literally changed my life.
Baby Driver. I've said this before, but like I think it's just like so like the style, right? It's a similar reason to like why I like the Batman. It's like the plot. It's not that crazy. It's like very simple, very simplified, but the style in which it is done with like the music, cinematography, it's like, oh my gosh, Edgar Wright is like a genius from Baby Driver. And like, I feel like I got to watch more Edgar Wright stuff because of Baby Driver. And I've seen like Scott Pilgrim, but it's been a long time and stuff like that.
It's also been a while for me. I'd like to see, I think they might be working on a sequel.
I wouldn't be surprised because it was
allegedly.
It's a like very popular amongst like fans and stuff like that. In fact, I think Baby Driver is kind of considered more of like a tame Edgar Wright film. But like
that's the tame,
right? But that movie's
still wild.
Oh yeah, it's so wild. It's so wild. Yeah.
Let me rise this question off of the topic we've been on. But like, do you think then pop culture is actually toxic? Because it gives us the idea of what normal looks like.
A little bit, because I realized that like there a lot of times like personal, like I think we forget that like celebrities and stuff, like they're people, like they're real people. They walk amongst us, right? And so like
a very similar topic about this before.
When especially when somebody young is like thrown and thrusted into the spotlight because of a specific role, any young celebrity that's popular, right? That is like so much pressure, right? And then you get these like, then once they're popular and they're branded and they're put everywhere, they're put on the huge posters in New York and all this stuff. So you see their faces no matter where you go. They become, right, a pop icon.
Yeah.
And then whatever they wear to the Met Gala or to
the fucking gym, bro,
or
Target,
to the trash can outside their house. I'm dead ass because the paparazzi
yeah
becomes cool. So then style is like based, but a lot of the time it's not even what they personally wear. It's like then they're hired. There's money in it,
people
right?
to push, yeah.
Right. So designers are paying hella money probably to get this person to wear their clothing because they're on the billboards. So now their clothing is cool.
Mm,
So then what's cool is just like
whatever they do.
it's just like funded by
You're
execs.
pushing society just because
Right.
people are funding you and people are watching you.
I really hope that like a lot of these celebrities have a say in what they want to wear at these events. That's what.
But there are also those like industry plants where they don't have any say in anything they do.
I think it probably depends on who you got around you and which contracts you get set up and how you get them set up. Like good parenting, especially if you're in the industry from a young age, right? Like how do you get a say in what movies you star in, right? Like what roles you can take, what roles you want to take, what you can wear, like how strict or how are people treating you, right? Like, are you able to make your own decisions, or are people acting like they own you as a person?
Ooh, you see what they did? I saw what you did there. I did. I think it went over their heads, bro. I don't think they got it.
No, they got it.
I hope y'all got that. That was crazy. I see how you brought that back around.
But it kind of does go to like that. It's really all like management. I mean, why do you think that like all these movies of these like artists and their come up like usually have some evil manager guy that just wants to like steal their soul?
Because it's the truth, bro. Most of them are stealing their souls.
That's why I love Chance, because like he's kind of famous for like getting famous without
being signed, no label.
So it's like you gotta be careful when you sign your soul away to the devil. You know
what's in that contract,
right? So I think a lot of times people get a bad deal, don't even get nearly as much money as they should be making, and then they get taken advantage of.
But that's also the thing, though, because in some of these cases, people wouldn't get as big as they were without signing this horrible deal.
That's the other thing. So, are you willing to sign your soul away to the devil for a chance to play?
How much?
For a chance to play the piano like Beethoven or something like that.
That's something because I don't think like the manager that signed Elvis did horrible things to him and just signed him away to Las Vegas, from what the movie said. But also Elvis, I don't think would have became Elvis without the manager getting him those deals.
Crossroads is a great movie. I was just saying because Sell Your Souls at Crossroads, and I think I've talked about this one before, but it's called like Bubba Hotep. I think it's called
Bubba who?
I think it's called Bubba Hotep. Hold on.
Bubba Hotel?
It's like this like Elvis movie.
It's a town I'd like to go to. That was a joke.
Yeah. Okay, check this out. Okay, here's the description. Here's the description of the movie.
Bubba
Elvis
Hotel?
Presley and a black JFK stay in a nursing home where nothing happens until a wayward Egyptian mummy comes and sucks out the old people's souls through their... What is that word?
Through their anuses.
Oh, that says anus? Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. The two decide to fight back. This is one of the weirdest movies of all time.
Fuck,
but
man?
it's like kind of fire.
What the fuck was that?
I think like
what?
It's like weird, but it has
B-rated movies.
From what I remember, it has to do with like, that like conspiracy where like Elvis was like still alive or whatever.
Yes,
I think that's what the movie's based on. I might be mixing it up, but I think this is the right movie.
A black JFK, you said.
I don't remember that part of the movie. I just remember that there was this guy who was like apparently Elvis, like still alive, and like that's kind of what the movie's about.
That's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, speaking of Elvis movies, I remember that
sucking through what? Their what?
I don't know what that description was. I just remember that Elvis was like in a nursing home, but Elvis
also they
was supposed to be
spelled through as in THRU, just so you understand.
What?
They spelled through like the slang way, not the actual way to spell through.
Oh.
They said THRU, not TH.
I'm intrigued about this movie.
OUGH.
I want to watch it again now because I remember watching it when I was young. The reason I've seen all these like weird, like these like very like, strange movies is because my dad would just play movies for me and my friends like every
This is the type
Friday.
of movies
It'd be like Friday night, movie night on Friday.
Yeah, I used to do
So
the thing back in the day.
that's kind of how we got into film. Well, that's how I got into film. Would you say? You were there for a bunch of those movie nights.
I was there for a few of those movie nights. They were pretty fun. They were really awesome, actually.
It was a good time. A lot of Arnold movies.
Arnold.
A lot of movies in general.
I don't know what got me into movies in the first place. I think one of the key movies that made me want to do movies was Avengers 1,
Oh yeah,
for sure. I walked out of that like, I want to make that type of feeling happen
Yeah,
again.
seeing Avengers 1 in theaters was like so cool. That was like
Man.
incredible. That was really awesome.
Look, there are some things to die for. If I could get the experience of that Avengers 1 again
There was some-
without context.
Yeah, there was some director that said that I can't remember which one it was, but he said that like if he had one wish, it was that he could watch his favorite movie again for the first time. And I was like, that's a cool wish. Cause like the first time I saw Baby Driver, I remember like I was at the beach. I was at Ocean City. I was like staying with like Michael and Jonah or something. Like they visited or something like that. And it was like flooding, bro. Like in Ocean City. Yeah. I had these crazy videos of like we're driving.
Oh, I think I've seen some of that.
Yeah,
Like,
and it's just like this crazy, just like
waves.
and we
bro.
saw Baby Driver randomly on like a whim, and I was like, I think at first I didn't even realize that it was my favorite movie. I just was like, that was really good. And then after a while, I'm like, I wish all movies were like that. I don't know what it was, but like I wish
Starts to click
all
slowly.
movies were like that. Yeah, and I don't know. I think it's like simple plot, like heist movie. I love heist movies.
Heist
Randomly.
movies are fantastic.
Simple
Tower
plot.
Heist, one of my favorites.
Oh my gosh, Ben Stiller. I love Ben Stiller. Okay, I love Ben Stiller. Like Night of the Museum. Meet the Parents.
Say less, bro.
Meet the Parents 2 is even better than Meet the Parents 1 because then you get Dustin Hoffman and Barbara Streisand as well as De Niro and stuff like that. It's like they're all so fantastic. And but Meet the Parents 2 is like even better. And Zoolander 1,
The Zoolanders.
so great.
There's two of them, right?
Yeah, the second one's fun, but it's not nearly as good as the
Oh,
first
it is the
one.
first one.
Yeah.
You've seen the memes from Zoolander, like swimming back around online.
And all because they're so classic. And like, Blue Steel. Wait, let me do it again. Ready? I think you have to do it with the eyebrow.
Oh, dang. Oh,
Something
he
like
hit
that.
it. Oh,
Thank you.
God.
Magnum.
This isn't like he can only do it with like his right or his left. Or
He's like,
something.
I can't turn left. Like Ben Stiller like made that stupid face for the whole movie. Like I swear he must have like jaw problems after filming
Nah, that face was crazy.
because he was like
that face was
for like the
crazy.
whole time. And
Tropic
and-
Thunder
and-
also like
Tropic. Oh yeah, and what's it called? Dodgeball.
yeah.
Dodgeball. So that's the one where it's like, I think it's like Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn, but then Ben Stiller plays like the villain. So good. And then all the Night in Museums are so awesome.
I like it. That's a trilogy I really like.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of trilogies where I feel like they're meant to be trilogies or like it feels good to watch it as a trilogy. But
Yeah.
Night at the Museum, I'd say definitely feels good to watch as a trilogy.
Oh yeah.
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 Also, Dark Knight trilogy is fantastic.
Ben Stiller now is mostly directing, I think. He directs this like TV show. I
Oh,
kind
really?
of want to check it
Is
out
it
because
bad?
I just have always loved his work. So
Ben Stiller's fantastic, bro.
yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I want to see him in more like movies though.
I
Kinda miss
know.
that.
I feel like he's probably retired from like acting for the most part though.
He's made his cash flow, bro.
Owen Wilson kind of having a comeback though. He was just in that thing with Jennifer Lopez.
Oh, that romance. That
Yeah,
rom-com,
it was pretty
right?
good. It was pretty good.
You've
Yeah.
seen it?
I saw it in theaters. Pretty good.
I have the most recent thing I've seen in him was that Loki series.
That dude does not age. Actually, the most recent thing we saw him in was Cars on the Road,
Cars on
The Road, which we watched right after we drove here on Route 66, which is fun.
That's actually pretty fun.
Yeah. And then we went to Disneyland and saw the Cars.
We actually saw Lightning McQueen in person.
and Mater, and like that was so cool. Like Disneyland, the Radiator Springs is like the coolest part. I thought it was so fun.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That place is fantastic.
Yeah.
bro. I really love all of Disneyland. I really love.
Cars is so slept on. Like as far as I've said this so many times. I've said this too many times.
I feel like Cars is like it's like a sleeper. It's like people know it's good, but they don't remember it.
They don't remember how good Cars 1 is. Cars 1 and 3. 2 is like it kind of gets off.
2 is actually on my worst movies list.
Worst movie. Yeah,
I couldn't stand watching it, and I can't even stand thinking.
I met a
about it.
lover of Cars 2 not that long ago. I can't remember who it
How is that
was,
even
so I don't
possible?
want to hate too much. Well, look, it does get absolutely ridiculous. You know those movies that are just kind of fun to watch because they get ridiculous?
No,
Like, I feel like I would.
I do, but this is not that.
I
type
feel
of
like I would
ridiculous.
enjoy Cars 2 as like a silly watch, but not as like the funny thing is like Cars 3 is so serious. Like he gets in this like crazy serious crash.
Uber serious.
But if you're watching the movie before that, they're like flying jetpacks to Big Ben. And then it's like, what the fuck happened? Like, why were they like spies? The second one.
That happens a lot with like Cars isn't Pixar, isn't it?
It is Pixar.
Oh.
Yeah.
I feel like Pixar has this thing sometimes where like its sequels are just like they're just sequels. They're not like stories. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like here's some more stuff with the characters you love instead of like here's the next chapter of that story.
Felt that way about a little bit about Incredibles 2. They actually tried to really like take a next part. We talked about this. They tried taking the next part of the story, but
Just
the
incredible.
villain is not as tight as Syndrome, which that's a very difficult task to.
I think having a tight I feel like having a tight villain is very important. Tying it back to Batman Begins, actually. You're talking about your method of like making your villain really tight so that it drives your story. Batman Begins, I can tell from the way it was written that they took the character Bruce Wayne and said, all right, we want to explore his feeling of justice and vengeance and what does that mean. Then they picked the character of Ra's al Ghul to be the dynamic of that because I feel like in the movie Ra's al Ghul represents Bruce Wayne's anger without the lessons from his father.
That's kind of how they treat Joker a lot of the time. Like it's like a similar thing where it's like he is Batman without
Compassion.
Yeah, and that's where the Killing Joke kind of comes in and asks that question.
And I think the best villains really come from like that connection between the two. It's like this is a representation of your protagonist if they went too far.
Yes. You're one bad day away. I think that's like a Joker line.
I think it's a Punisher.
You're
also
one bad day
uses
away
it.
from becoming me. That's kind of how it goes.
Punisher also uses it in Daredevil.
Maybe that's what I'm referencing, but I think
they
Joker.
both say it.
Okay,
They both say that line.
Yeah,
And
Punisher's
it's like,
awesome. Fun character. Yeah. I haven't even seen the show.
The Punisher show.
But I watched Daredevil season 2 where I saw John
Punisher.
because he's a great cast for Punisher.
I've seen both seasons. He is like I don't think you can find a better Punisher. He
John
genuinely is the best.
Bernthal.
John Bernthal. John Bernthal. He was originally
Walking
he
Dead.
got big from The Walking Dead.
Shane, the first 2 seasons.
Shame.
Shine.
You think you love her, but you don't. Shame. But yeah, no, it's like, and I feel like although we like to explore that more with certain characters, I feel like any good antagonist should have kind of that similar relationship where if you push your protagonist enough in a particular direction, they are not too far from the antagonist.
If you are interested in Red Hood, Punisher's kind of like Red Hood. There's a lot of similarities.
I feel like on a Marvel sense, Thanos is kind of like Iron Man.
What do you mean?
Let me explain. Let me break this down for the crowd. So Iron Man, his whole thing is about being a futurist, right? And it becomes a problem for the heroes around him down the line that he keeps trying to do things to prevent bad things from happening.
But then his creations cause worse things like Ultron.
Like Ultron, right? Thanos is a very similar guy. He's trying to prevent something bad in the future. So he's doing bad things now.
Okay, here's my thing with Thanos. And I've always said this.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand, like, why, if he could snap half the world out of existence, why couldn't he just, like, snap more matter or something? Like, the
into existence?
Yeah.
There's probably a bunch of sciencey bullshit for that you could say.
You know?
I'm not gonna lean towards that as an actual definition. I'm gonna see it more like this isn't a man that thinks logically like that. This is a guy who's been killing his entire life.
But it's like nobody
and
thought
that
like,
was the conclusion.
pitch that to him. I don't know. You know,
I feel like someone has probably tried to bring it up to him. He's like, "You don't understand." And he just
maybe I'm sure there's some comic book logic.
And maybe in the movies they should have found a way to sneak either Gamora or Nebula or someone close.
We
to
saw
the
Guardians.
Have we not talked about it in the pod?
Did we? I think we saw it this week.
We saw it. Yeah, we saw it on Tuesday, right? Yeah, we didn't talk about Guardians. We saw Guardians.
We saw Guardians 3. It was I think we both really liked it.
I walked out liking it, and then every passing day I think I love it.
I think it was awesome. Like I was kind of disappointed. Like I liked the second one when I saw it, but then over rewatches, I wasn't as big of a fan. And I only liked it when I watched it. I didn't like love it. the first one I like love. It's like one of my favorite. It might be my favorite. It might be my favorite MCU movie. Like it's definitely up in probably top 3. And
oh shit! You said top 3. That's big.
yeah, and so this one I thought was like a really, really good sequel. It would like I really liked it that I would watch the second one. Like I would watch all 3, and the second one might drag a little bit, but it's like I think it would be worth sitting through the second one to be rewarded by the third one. And I really liked the holiday special too with Kevin Bacon.
I actually love the holiday special.
So I would watch like all 4 in a row.
Wow.
Like on a fun like movie stay up night or whatever.
Yeah, one of those types of nights. I agree. I think I like the holiday special a little bit more
Than the movie.
than Guardians 2.
Guardians 2. Oh yes, I like the holiday special a decent amount more than Guardians.
I think there's just a couple things I have with Guardians 2 where I don't like it when you have multiple antagonists and they're all unrelated to each other. I feel like we spend a little too much time with Ego.
But I love Kurt Russell. He's fantastic.
Nothing against Kurt.
Sky High.
Kurt's the GOAT.
Yeah.
It's just Ego, I think, is a very personal villain for Star-Lord, but trying to connect him to this greater like universal threat, it didn't quite land for me.
Didn't land for me quite either. But Mantis was brought in. I like Mantis a lot.
Mantis is a cool ass character, and she's especially cool in this movie.
Yeah.
I feel like in Guardians 2, because we're meeting her for the first time, she's just kind of another like idiot character that the Guardians drag around. This movie, she shines. Like every time you think like you kind of like, oh, is this Mantis, whatever. She's telling these characters their flaws, what they need to do. Like she's almost like a surrogate mother to the team.
I loved what they did with Star-Lord and Gamora. I loved what they did with it. I thought it was like I couldn't have.
I feel like it was a natural progression.
Yeah.
It made sense. They didn't shoehorn any BS about it.
Yeah.
Like no spoilers, of course,
Yeah.
but like Star-Lord and Gamora's relationship in this movie is, I feel like, perfect for what Star-Lord needed as a character after everything that he's been through.
And I feel like it was so much more interesting than what they could have easily done. Like the easy route that they could have taken, they didn't take, and they made it way more interesting.
Yeah, I feel like I don't want to shit on Disney because I'm going to eventually work for Disney, but I feel like the easy
It was perfect.
Disney,
It was beautiful. I love you, Disney.
I love Disney movies are my favorite movies, but well, not all of them. But I feel like the typical Disney writer route is just to tie everything up in a nice bow. It's clean, a happy ending. But this isn't quite that.
No.
It feels a little bit more real. It's like, look, situations aren't perfect. We're doing the best we can.
Yeah,
and things work out the way that they do.
Yeah, I feel like I really was pleasant. I wasn't expecting it to be bad, but I was like pleasantly surprised with how much I liked it.
I was gonna say, like, I was hoping for. I don't say I was hoping for anything. I was hoping that since this is going to probably be the last, because James Gunn is going to be busy after this, that is going to feel like a climactic end for the Guardians. But I feel like in a sense it wasn't quite that, but what they did do, I think I actually like more than what I was expecting.
Yeah, I would.
This is a very personal story for Rocket.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Oh my God, this is Rocket's movie, bro. And like the way they do it, first of all,
I wouldn't even say that's a spoiler because
no, it's in the it's in the trailer that this is kind of leaning towards Rocket's origins, and the way they treat Rocket in this movie. First of all, a lot of the scenes are hard to watch. I don't know if kids should actually watch this.
It's intense.
It is very intense. Not just
and I liked the villain in the movie too a lot.
We can get into that in a second, but I like how visceral Rocket's experience was as a viewer. Again, I don't know if children are ready for that, but also visceral, not just in like a what you're viewing sense, but in like an emotional sense. It's like emotionally heart-wrenching.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if kids are ready for either of those.
Yeah. I think James Gunn has always like strayed a little bit off the family-friendly path.
Yeah.
Even in Guardians 1. And it's part of the charm of James Gunn's filmmaking and Guardians. And
I think it works so well.
He brought that to DC for the Suicide Squad.
It works really well. I always feel like he should have done Suicide Squad first. instead of
I mean,
Guardians,
you know.
he's fantastic at Guardians, but it just seems like I feel like James Gunn off of a leash is perfectly matched with Suicide Squad's overall style.
Right.
You know, he just kind of perfectly blends together. But what he brings,
Suicide Squad.
I'm sorry,
Is it fine? There's two. I know it's confusing.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The Suicide Squad.
It was like
style and
half sequel, half just like.
There's like a wonky, quirky weirdness to James Gunn, and a slightly. There's also a very like real, like gritty approach to the way he does things, and it works so well for the Suicide Squad, and especially like he really felt like he did what he wanted with this movie.
I want to watch. I still haven't seen Peacemaker. That's the one.
I also have
that's
not
the
seen
show
Peacemaker.
he did with John Cena, which I've heard very good things about, and still have been meaning to watch.
I feel so weird. I feel I'm a bit classist when it comes to like superhero stories these days because we have so many.
Yeah.
I'm only going to watch characters that I care about.
That's the thing, bro. We used to be able to keep up with everything. Like, and now it's just like
it's far too many.
Yeah.
We just tried to catch a superhero movie literally 2 weeks ago and we missed it.
Shazam. And I'm like the only Shazam fan that I know.
For real, bro. It was here and it went quick.
I was so excited for the first movie and I enjoyed it, you know? And
I watched the first movie and it was actually quite good.
And the second one I was really excited for, but it felt like it only stayed in theaters for like a month.
I think that might have been the case.
We didn't have time. We tried. We wanted to go, but like.
And the funny thing is, and this is the whole thing about having so much superhero content, even though that month came and went, we have another superhero movie that we were able to watch. Like.
With this one?
With this one.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're just rotating. I missed Ant-Man 3, and I liked Ant-Man 1 a lot. The second one, I was like.
Ant-Man 1, I love.
Yeah.
Bro. That's probably my top
movie.
6.
I love heist movies, so yeah.
Second one, I have no care for it.
I
could shit on it.
There were parts I liked about it, but I
couldn't tell you a single part.
It wasn't nearly as good as the first one. Which is a phrase that I know we say too much, but it's just a sequel-itis thing.
It's more than a sequel-itis with that second one. The second one has similar issues to what I have with the Guardians second one. And also, I feel like they didn't realize why Ant-Man 1 was so good.
Right.
And they just didn't do it for the second one, and they didn't do it for the third.
That happens a lot. It's like the magic a lot of the time is not in the characters, but it's in the way the story is told.
Exactly, bro. If they kept that heist element with Ant-Man for all of the movies, they would all be top tier for me.
I think Guardians, the magic is in the characters and the way the story is told.
Yeah.
And so like the second one is still enjoyable because you get the characters, but the story is not
told.
But then the third one brings back the good story and
and I feel like not for the first time, because Ego was an interesting villain, but High Evolutionary, you got to pick out of the 3 of the Guardians movies, High Evolutionary is my favorite villain.
Is that the guy in this most recent one?
Yeah.
He was fantastic.
Oh my God, dude.
He really gave it up.
Fantastic performance, gave it up, and also like there's an easy way to make this character feel one-dimensional, like Ronin.
Yeah.
And I feel like I don't know if it's James Gunn or the actor or probably a combination.
Probably both because he found the right actor.
Right.
Yeah.
But like this character is interesting. He's menacing. I'm scared every second of like, what is this dude going to do? He's intense.
Scary looking.
That's so scared. Really scary looking.
Weird looking.
And actually like, I think it's difficult sometimes when you have a villain that just kind of wants to destroy things. It's like, how do you make that interesting?
No, but they did he was so interesting.
It was
actually so cool.
It was so very disruptive, but in an interesting way.
Yeah, I'm excited at the premise of rewatching this at some point in the future.
I'm also excited to see this again. I kind of want to see like 1 and 3 together. But you got to slide Avengers in there too. But
I'm okay with watching the second one in between, like I said. Like I still think there's like enough fun moments in the second one. And I like Kurt Russell enough that I would watch it. I just, it would definitely be the dragging part of the trilogy. But it's okay because, like, a lot of trilogies, like, the middle movie is good. So, like, instead, it's like the first and the third movie.
I think the issue is that you're in the middle of the story when you think about the trilogy, right? And it's like you don't want these characters to change too much because you're going to do a third.
Right.
But without a very big dramatic change in the second one, it feels pointless.
The thing is, though, there's characters brought in that are necessary, and those plot points. I mean, honestly,
There are characters brought in for the third one to be cool, but not for its actual.
Mantis is brought in the second one.
Yeah, but I don't feel like.
Also, here's the thing:
she doesn't give enough sauce until the movies after.
And I also think that the I don't know how much I can say, but that whole planet dynamic and stuff is like kind of not that necessary, other than Mantis. Mantis is like the one thing kind of that you get from.
Yeah,
she's great.
And then the fact that like the second movie isn't old enough, so I can't spoil anything.
That's what I'm saying.
There is a big reveal for who Star-Lord is in terms of like parenthood, and it kind of changes some things fundamentally about the character that's interesting. But then once the movie's over, doesn't matter. And then we're back to basically the first movie.
That's what I'm saying.
And it's like you could have. The reason why I love Dark Knight as a trilogy is because the characters all change every movie. There's always something different happening.
Right.
So it feels like every movie matters. And I think Cars has this issue with its trilogy, and Guardians to a less extent has the same issue where characters aren't changing enough. So this middle movie feels insignificant.
The most change to any character happens outside of Guardians. It happens in an Avengers movie. So that's a weird thing. And that's not entirely, James Gunn's fault or any of the Guardians writers' fault. It's just like you had to write that change into the third one, but it benefits the third movie.
Big time.
Yeah.
I love the choice. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the fact that choice happens outside of its trilogy, but the fact that choice happened and now we have to deal with the ramifications, fantastic.
They give you a little bit of a recap. That's the best you get.
Yeah,
a recap, not like a dialogue recap, not like a TV show recap.
Yeah. No, but they give you enough. I think we had this conversation after watching Guardians. We should probably have it here, where it's like, where is the line from when you're doing stories that go across different franchises? Because for me, I feel like if you're gonna take a character and put them in a different movie, they have to do something that matters. Something has to change. But then if you do something really drastic in one movie and then put them back in their series, it's going to feel like something's missing, right? Same thing with Mando and Boba. They use Mando great in the Boba show. But now it feels like there's something a little too important missing from the Mando show.
This is the great comic book problem.
Yeah.
In comic books, sometimes there'll be some crazy event that's not in the comic you're reading. Hypothetically, you're picking up this comic book once a week.
Yeah.
And you should be able to keep up with the character because you're reading Batman.
Yeah.
But then sometimes in Justice League, something crazy happens to Batman. And then sometimes they'll just completely ignore it in the Batman comic, but sometimes they'll
address it.
They'll have to address it, right? Because of the studio. And a lot of the times the writers put little asterisks and just say, this, they'll give one line of summary, and the asterisk will be this happened in Justice League 32. See it, right? But the TV shows don't do that. I don't even think they have the recaps to do that, right? I mean, sometimes
TV shows,
they don't even have recaps from Boba in Mando.
Yeah.
So it's you have to Google
what
the
happened?
watch or what happened, which is that is not going to be helpful for people that are trying to watch it in 20 years. They're going to have to Google it
and see what the heck is going on.
You can't just watch boom, boom, boom. Yeah. I think Guardians, they have enough of a recap in the third one that you could just watch 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I think if you go into Guardians and you haven't seen the Avengers movies for whatever the reason is, you'll be okay.
But Cap 1, 2, 3, no, you can't do that.
Cap 1, 2, 3, no. Yeah, no.
Iron Man 1, 2, 3, yeah, you can watch those.
It's funny. I feel like Iron Man has several different endings to his arc, but they all fit, make sense, and they're great.
Right.
In their own different franchises.
The cool thing about Iron Man is you can watch 1, 2, 3 and just
1 to 3 you can watch and think that's the end, and that's great.
Yeah.
But Iron Man also has an arc in the Avengers movies.
Right.
That by itself is great. And then with the context of his own movies is even better. And I think that's the way to do it. Thor's different from the others. He's had a very rough start
middle, and like nobody knows what to do with Thor, so it comes across.
But
on the
like as
screen.
far as like understanding them, I feel like you probably could watch Thor 1, 2, 3, 4.
No, you couldn't watch. Actually, yeah, okay, you could. You can watch 1, 2, 3. Maybe not.
I feel like Cap 3 is the best example of one that doesn't wrap up the trilogy at all and just kind of like is like what?
I do feel like Cap 3 is not an end. It's more of a
Transition to Avengers.
Cap 3 feels like the Dark Knight trilogy's Dark Knight, except even I think a little less conclusive.
Then again, Cap 2 is weird because he's already in the future.
Cap 2? What do you mean?
Like, do you need the Avengers after Cap 1?
No. Because in Cap 1, he wakes up.
Okay.
And I think that's not enough movie to talk
Oh,
about.
you're right.
Cap 1, he actually wakes up in the future, so you don't have to watch
You're
the
right.
Avengers.
Okay,
You'll
yeah,
be
that's
fine.
cool. That's cool.
But Cap 2 does a reverse thing. Cap 2 did such a giant change for the entire universe
Yeah.
that the Avengers movies lost something because they did it in Cap 2.
True.
How old is Cap 2? 24?
It's like almost 10 years old now.
Can we spoil a little bit if it's like 9?
You talking about the big
The big reveal that the agency was actually
Okay, well hold on. We didn't agree that you could spoil it.
I didn't. I just said
I thought you were about to spoil it.
an agency could have been something.
The agency was something that it didn't seem.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I won't spoil it because it's 9. But next year,
That's what I
I'll
was thinking.
come
Like
back.
2014, right?
Yeah, we're on the edge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we're close.
We're good at movie years.
Huh?
We're good at movie years.
Yeah, that 76 thing with Taxi Driver, complete guess. I
Oh,
completely
Wait,
guessed
did we
that.
decide it? Oh yeah, 72, 74, 76, right?
Yeah, I was a complete guess, bro. But yeah, it's like that's a big change, and it's a great change for like the Cat movie itself, but it also changed the bigger franchise movies in general, and it happened outside of the movies. So it happens both ways.
Let me make sure that Cap 2 is 2014. I don't want to eat our words.
I know.
But I think it was.
I'm pretty sure it's 2014. Someone's gonna come and look at it. It's 2015, you idiots. Type in those comments all your hatred that we're getting.
Yeah, it was
wrong.
2014. That's what I'm
Heck yeah. Don't trip on us. But yeah, it
Yeah.
can happen both ways where your characters might change too much outside of the bigger story.
Exactly.
And also your characters are changing too much in the bigger
That's a
stories.
new problem. Like it's an old problem in comic books, but like a new problem in movies. And I think that's a lot of the time when comics start doing not as good because it's harder to keep track of.
Yeah,
And I think that is having a negative impact on the MCU.
I agree.
So
I agree.
as expected, because that's what happens in comic books.
But how do you clean it up? How do you fix that?
A lot of the times in comic books, they just reset everything.
That's lazy.
They'll have one story just to say everything's reset, and now you can start from this new point. So maybe they'll eventually just kind of be like, all right, the MCU's done, and we're starting over. I think maybe. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they'll try to build up slowly, but I feel like there might be a point where they just
wipe it clean.
Yeah.
DC is doing that right now.
Flashpoint. That's DC's like biggest example of one, basically.
DC does it like all the time,
DC
bro.
does it
Without
pretty
hesitation.
Yeah.
We're already doing it in the movies. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
If you told me we would have a Flashpoint in the movies already, I wouldn't believe you.
Yeah.
I wouldn't believe you, bro.
Yeah, I'm intrigued.
I'm intrigued. Shout out to James Gunn doing whatever he's doing with the DC movies from here on out. A lot of rumors are spreading around his casting of Superman. So we'll see. I'm excited.
Yeah. On that note, I feel like we've been going for a while. What time is it?
We're like 2 hours in actually.
2 hours.
Yeah.
Snap.
Dang, yo, my hat looks crazy, bro. It's like off of my head at this point. Dang, that's wild. Anyway, we should probably wrap it up now. Is there anything else we should talk about really quick?
I'm trying to think of like what else.
Anything that's
happened
breaking
or that we
news?
talked about. I don't know. It's
I feel like
karaoke.
the world's been pretty chill. recently.
Karaoke night tonight.
It is karaoke night tonight.
I'm excited. Yeah.
I don't know if I want to pull up.
It didn't happen last week because there was a bunch of stuff going on last week.
What if it's not karaoke night? It is.
No. I asked the manager last time. I was
you
like,
did?
yeah, because it's every Thursday. It wasn't happening. I'm like, what's going on? He's like, oh, it's just because it's crazy because graduation season. So like, but next Thursday. I'm like, let's go.
So karaoke night tonight. Shout out to the karaokers. What do you call karaoke people?
Karaoke.
Shout out to the karaoke.
I don't know. I should
It sounds like the ninjas and the karaoke. They
Star
go
Wars.
do things. Anyway, shout out to the karaoke. I think that's about it.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us.
Crazy.
We
Thank
covered
you
a
for
lot of
joining us
stuff.
on this journey.
Covered Guardians.
TMZ. I know y'all are coming for me.
Oh yeah, we covered
talking about
love,
and claiming
Love, Guardians,
and
The Godfather Part
objectifying.
2, Batman Begins.
a lot of different topics.
Those are the main ones, I
They're
think.
probably gonna eat us up for that, but hey, man, if we don't give you the real, who is?
I'll say it one more time. Don't quote me, boy. I ain't said shit.
I didn't say shit, bro. I didn't say motherfucking shit. Don't quote me, bro. Anyway, we'll wrap this up now. Thank you guys
Thank
for
you very
listening
much.
to us, watching us, doing whatever you're doing, keeping us pushing. We're on episode
35.
35, bro. It's 35.
It's like
weeks
crazy
in.
that we've done 35 episodes.
That's an insane
Like
marker.
35.
Bro. If you told me we would be this far ahead, like episode 1, I'd be like, I don't know, something was gonna come up.
Yeah,
I always thought some
yeah.
issue would come up and we wouldn't be able to do these. Yet here we are, episode 35, still kicking it, still talking about more
Yeah.
content.
Thank you very much, seriously,
Art.
for listening and watching.
Yeah, you guys are the best, and I literally would not do this without y'all.
It's been really fun, and
So-
we love doing Starbound. So
I do love
it's awesome.
Starbound.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I hope y'all have a good rest of your day. It's your boy King Cudjo,
And cough drippy.
and 2 Chainz.
Peace. Till next time. Same bat time, same bat channel.